Hi everyone. I was asked how I can pull in a pattern to put on top of a material so I can do a representation of a material inside of Revit. And I'm going to show you how to do it. A lot of times this is done when you're trying to put in a very complex pattern like some type of stone veneer or something that has rounded edges to it, where you can't just build it simply by using parallel lines or cross hatches. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll go ahead and go out and I'll pull one down that's already made. One of a good resource of a place to go is Revit City. They also have another one out there called Cat Hatch. They have a pretty good stock of patterns, but those are the ones that I like to use. On RevitCity.com, I've actually already done a search for stone veneer, so I've found a couple of them out there already. If you are not a member of RevitCity.com, I do recommend you going out and joining, and it's free to join, although they do ask for donations just to keep the site up and running. I'll click on, I typed in stone pattern, and these are some of the options that I came up with. I'm going to grab a pattern that I feel has a pretty good representation of what I'm looking for, has some rounded edges, so you can see how it comes into the model. So I'm going to click on, let's see here, how about this weathered edge limestone. So when you click on it, it should take you into the file itself, and it just moves a little slow here, so just bear with me a second. And you're going to want to download the file. From here, after it gets into the file, shows you what it is, you want to click on download. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to come in here. If that happens and you don't see it, the box pop up right away, that'll ask you if you want to save it, or it may take you to another page where you have to copy the text. That's okay. You can kind of speed it up by just clicking here where it says if download does not begin, click here, which is what I'm going to do. What this does is a lot of times it takes you into a text file. So I'm now in a text file. I'm just going to grab everything that's inside of here, and I'm going to do a Control-C. From here, I'm going to now open up Notepad, because Notepad is usually your text editing software out there. And I'm going to do a Control-V and paste it in. As you can see, it gets a little complicated. So if you don't know how to do this type of thing, go out there and find one and do it for you. The biggest thing about this, though, is we need the way we save it. I'm going to go to File. I'm going to do a Save As. When I save it, I'm just going to put it in my Documents folder. However, if you use multiple patterns and different things like that, it's a good idea to have a folder that just keeps that information so that you have it all in one place. I'm going to call this thing Limestone, which is what it was called on the page there. Besides that, I'm going to change it where it says Save As Type. I'm going to change it to All Files. That's important, because now I can type in .pat, which gives it the pattern extension name, and I can say Save. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my Revit, and I'm going to add it in. Where you add it in is inside of your material library. So I'm going to click on Manage. If you're not already there, click on Materials. It's going to bring up my material library. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type in stone, see if I already have something. Doesn't look like I do, so I'm going to add one in. I'm going to click on Create New Material. When creating new materials, there's a few things you want to make sure you do. First is go to Identity and call it what it is. And for this, I'm going to say it's limestone. Or I can say stone veneer. I don't have to be as specific, especially if I just have an idea. I'm going to also change the class just because I want to keep everything simple in what it is. I'm next going to go to graphics, and right now I'm just worried about the drafting graphics. I'm not worried about the rendering appearance. I'm not going to touch that at the moment. And I'm going to change the surface pattern. So I'm going to click where it says foreground, it says pattern. And I'm going to click and I'm going to say new drafting pattern. I want it to be a drafting pattern because I want it to scale based off of the scale of the view that I'm putting it in. A model pattern is it stays the same no matter what. 2 inches is 2 inches no matter the scale. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to decide which type of pattern to use. Usually a drafting pattern is used for representation. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click new fill pattern because one is not in there. This is a custom pattern. So I'm going to click on custom and I'm going to browse back to where I saved that file. And you'll notice I've got a couple of them in here, but you'll notice it reads it as a hatch pattern file because I put the PAT on it. So I'm going to click on limestone. I'm going to tell it open. And as you can see now, the pattern is in there. Something else to keep in mind. Right now it's coming in at 1:1. So this is a good idea of how this actually looks. That's huge in comparison. My elevation is actually drawn at 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to scale this thing down to 1/8, which is, if you do the import scale, 0.125. And this is how it's going to look at that size. I'm going to tell it OK. Tell it OK again. I've now got this scale in here. The other thing that I'm going to do is I always bring in any type of surface patterns in at a gray and not necessarily a black so that it doesn't overpower the drawing. Just some shading when you're putting it in. I'm going to tell it OK. And then now if I want to test how it looks, I can just paint this pattern on really quick or paint the material on. So I'm going to go to modify and I'm going to go to paint, which is above geometry and above sledgehammer. I'm going to go and grab that stone veneer pattern that I just created, and I'm going to click it on the wall and see how it looks. Let's say you've got that on here and said, ooh, I really thought that those pieces would be bigger. I really want to use some bigger pieces. Here's how you change it. Go back to your material library, which is inside of manage. Click materials one more time. Stone veneer is the last thing that you're working on, so it's the last thing that's in here. Click where it says foreground. You'll click on the pattern itself. You'll click on the pencil, which is edit. That's the symbol for edit. And instead of putting in that 0.13, just change it. Let's say let's do a quarter. Let's say maybe we're going to have twice the size for how the pattern looks. So you just change it to 0.25. Tell it OK. Tell it OK. Tell it OK again. And now you'll see your scale changes inside of your elevation itself. And it's just that simple. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you want to see how to bring other pattern files in and how they manipulate on other surfaces, please let me know that too. You can also check back on this and subscribe onto this channel for other videos and other how-tos and do different things so that you can keep up to date with other questions that I receive. Thanks again.